I just want to show some of my development techniques that I use for mostly for my non-roguelike activities, and now I try to get some of them put into a roguelike. And I mostly deal with databases, and my goal is to get a roguelike going that's completely built into a database. Yeah. See.
Select monster type.
Here I have a little example database made. It's not really working a lot, but just the basic things. I have a table that contains information about all the maps that are there, just an ID of the map and the level. I have the cells of the that are in the map, X, Y position and what kind of terrain it is. And here another table with what kind of terrains actually are there. Let's show. Here. Currently I just put some examples in them. One means wall, two floor, open door, closed door, stairs, corridor. And in this map cell table I put some example data in there. It's mouse. I just put in a few cells. Level 1 I have on this coordinates, this and this terrain. And like that I can put monsters, monster types, and the complete data structure of the game want to put it into my database, and well, then let database clients put insert data into this command table that contains what the monsters want to do. Then there's a server that checks if these commands work, if the other monsters moved away, or if the wall, if the door opened, or if someone closed the door. And then if the commands are successful, then it generates update statements that change the status of those the map and monster tables. Monster, it has an ID, monster type, weapon, level, hit points. And so if I have some attack command and the turn gets processed, then it would end up in the server reducing some HPs from a special monster in this table. And to principle, it's because I have the state complete in the database.
You don't need to save games.
Yeah, I have the complete state, and I have the complete list of commands what happened in advance. So it's pretty a stable thing to very easy to debug. No chasing pointers, and and it's pretty much as platform independent as it can get. You just need you now don't have any interface defined. If you have a platform, you have to connect to the database, and then it's more a problem of the client how he visualizes the content. Techniques to get those clients usually going is I use a lot of code generation tools. Here one of my own tools. I start from scratch. My code generator. The idea is I have some data structures in the database, and here I have a program that connects to the database and spits out code that contains classes that fit to those data in the database. So if you put lots of information about monster types in your database, you could simply write a program that reads those data and converts it into C structs or something like that. So in a database you can easily shovel data around, and yeah. So I really like generative programming. It saves me a lot of time. Let's see, the map cell table. I'll import it from a Postgres localhost, and here I get an object. It has this primary key is this, and yeah, pretty much here I have an object, an SQL statement fitting to the thing, so I can play with it in a database console. Name map. So is object Pascal. I use a lot. Then I get a class that contains fields, has getters and setters for the fields, a copy procedure, one that's just copied the fields, the contents, and this one copies also the primary key, also the ID object with it. Sometimes I want to have two objects with a different ID and just want to copy the data of another object into it. And here, a few automatically generated procedures to load it from a database or update, delete it, and load a list of it to get a class that contains the SQL statement. They can pass into my framework, so I can at runtime add a where clause, so I want only the cells in a certain area, and then load it with this load list command into my client. Yeah.
Have you tried using some existing ORM?
I don't like most of them. I want to do my own things. I seen a lot of frameworks, and I think most framework writers suck.
That's most of everything.
Yeah. Yes, especially in data. And if I have my own framework, I have tweaked it to exactly the database that I use.
Yeah.
If I have a general framework that talks to every database, it's really complicated to get to special features of the database you are actually using. And my framework, okay, it talks to I think now to a few different databases, and I added one more, but the databases are all a little bit different. I really noticed that there are I hit some boundaries where I think I shouldn't try a general approach, so I really have to specialize. The ways IDs get generated in databases is different, and yeah, I think there's a book called Anti-Patterns, and they list the SQL standard as a real mess of a standard that nobody completely implements, and everybody has their own extensions. So
you also, even if you stay within kind of like more or less standard SQL, for different databases you optimize differently. You'll optimize differently for PostgreSQL as you will for MySQL, for Oracle databases.
Yes, I think
you can't really be portable.
If you do select star from table, then it's compatible. But
yes.
As soon as you do anything more than that,
what more could you need?
Yeah. And some data, Postgres didn't have those if you want to have tree structures in your database and to select them, some time ago, or with the last version, they now can do it. And with my stuff that I used, I needed that years ago. And so I had to use another database. And this common table expression, I think MySQL doesn't even have it now. And it's a mess with those. If I really specialize, and also specialize on the way I design my tables, if I say I have always some sort of ID column, then I can generate my classes fitting to that pattern. So yeah, I can take advantage of that. I just use a subset of the SQL language. Yeah, does anybody use generative programming for?
Metaprogramming is so scary to me.
Yeah.
Well, I sort of do generative programming because I build all my C structures for my data. In the program, they're all just these global C structures and these big enum tables, but they're built from a text file because I hate typing C structures, are impossible to initialize. So.
What I would do is then I would do instead of text files, I would put my data into the database and extract text files or extract XML or generate classes from that.
Yes,
So
it makes sense to use a ready tool, and database tools are very
and this
advanced.
this generative approach that also allows me to do things that I couldn't do with templates or generics, because these things here that I do here would be enormously complex templates, and even if I could fit this into a template structure, the code wouldn't be any readable anymore or debuggable. So if here it spits out a class and I can read the code, and it's really simple what happens in there. The disadvantage against template is this: if I change a template, then it automatically changes. The changes are everywhere wherever the template is used, but it's also dangerous if you use something everywhere. Changing it's maybe difficult, and with that approach I can change my code generation tools. Then
Provided that you don't change anything in the generated code.
Yeah, if I generate new classes, they will have the new features. The old classes work as before and are untouched. So I get some stability.
But you can't propagate bug fixes automatically.
Yeah,
You find out you did something wrong and you need to regenerate all those classes.
Yes, I quite often regenerate some classes, but it's usually I don't want a change to be automatically involved everywhere. This is just too dangerous. Okay, so and this generator here is for the database, creating objects that fit to tables, or here fitting to an SQL select. I have another example here. Select, if I join. Also the ORMs are usually these ORM objects are for one table, and you can insert, update, delete there. And here I have one. This one from. So I join several tables. Yeah, here I join the map cell with the map and with the map cell type, and so get an object that contains the symbol that is also the map cell just has the ID of the type, and here is the ASCII symbol that represents this.
So you flatten the structure of the database this way.
yeah, so I get an object that is more usable for my in my program. I don't want to yeah. Moment, I show you here. Where is my? Okay, here I have something that is more or less the select active. So in my program, I haven't put it into a grid yet, but this program just yeah, reads the map cell table joined with the symbols, and so I have on map 1 coordinate so and so, terrain type so. This is the ASCII symbol.
It would be crazy to leave it like that.
Well, this is a final version. You know, you just have a box to type in your SQL query that's updated.
Well, yeah, we could get into a very tough discussion if this is a roguelike. Have it like that. But at least you see, it would just be a little bit of code to put it into a grid and display the correct symbol. Okay, so yes.
So to do the selection of a region, you'd add the where x is less than 10, I mean greater than 10 and less than 20, and y is whatever.
Yeah, it could. Here I've just put manually some data into my map cell table, and I couldn't type more.
You could generate it randomly.
Yeah, this is the goal. I just could put an insert statement there and copy from...
Postgres has the random function.
Yeah, we can't use completely random. I mean, it has to be connected somehow.
Yeah.
No, of course, but
the random function...
I wonder if you could use some temporary tables to actually write a random level generation completely in Postgres.
You could do like a tile-based one, because you could have like a table of little pieces of map that you then stamp on somehow.
I think one reason I chose Postgres, I initially used a different database, and I tried a random number generator of the other database, and it turned out in the documentation it says it is a non-deterministic function, and the query optimizer will not cache the result. But the documentation turned out to be false. If I select a random number, random, they were all equal. It was pretty bad for so probably nobody before tried to write a game.
That would be the first non-random roguelike using a random number.
So in Postgres I tested it. This one worked. But level generation, yeah. There are lots of things that are still to be done. But maybe it's easier if I write a client application that generates the table on all the content, and if this is halfway always the same and fixed, then I'll push it into SQL. So yeah, maintaining or changing a client is often easier than just starting doing raw SQL and yeah. Okay, so this was okay. Generation. I just could show you what else kind of things I generate. The database classes I generate. Then I have some kind of model view controller framework here. This generates classes that represent data that get shown by some interface without this class doesn't have any knowledge where the data is going to be shown. Yeah, commands, what I can push this around these fields, I can put them as fields here in this class, or I can move everything into sub-objects. And okay, this is the model, the data that gets shown to the user interface. Here a view class, this is a class that contains more or less the GUI controls that show the data. the controls themselves don't know anything about the data, what is being shown. And here I have some controller presenter that cares about shoveling data from the model to the view and catching the events from the view and transforming those events into actual changes of the underlying model.
One difficulty I see with distribution of such roguelike is that you have to install a database engine.
Yeah, or you have to make a connection to some.
Yeah. Unless you use something like SQLite or something like
Well, that way you could hook up into another player's game.
Yeah, if you are on a network.
You get multiplier for free.
Yes, this is so now there we go. Multiplayer.
This is not like 2 zeros.
The plan is are more or less I wanted to have one player client and then one or more AI clients for the monsters. So the monsters can, in a normal roguelike, it's very difficult to have for every monster the knowledge where it has been, and so the engine always cheats a little bit because it just isn't possible to keep track of everything and get us up to speed. So I could split the monster movement onto several computers that care about different groups of monsters, and also just connect a second player that takes control of the movement of a monster. So this is difficult. I don't know if it's going to be playable, but
It's certainly interesting.
this is it's an exercise. So, yeah. Okay, and yeah, also generating classes. For different design patterns, I have my few classes that I design. As this model view controller thing, then this is an application controller. This is something that controls those model view controller classes, creates them, connects them, initializes them, and cleans them up. And a facade pattern. You have an interface that has certain functions, and the functionality is you can the implementation is hidden in a special services class somewhere else. So this is good if you have several packages of code and want to have a central API that everyone is able to call, and the implementation relies on all sorts of intermediate classes, and if you can get the references sorted out. Yeah, okay, that's just facade pattern, it's some sort of standard pattern. Okay. Yeah, that's about it. I didn't want to make it too long. So, no, any suggestions or criticism? Yeah. Do you use databases for your programs somewhere, or how much?
Not if I can help it.
I didn't like to play. I like plain text files.
I actually avoided databases as hard as I could, but at some point, one of my projects is a wiki engine, and I needed something to store the index of all words on all pages, so that I can have a fast search. And well, I forced myself to use that database, and initially I used BerkeleyDB because it wasn't relational. And I had so many troubles with it. At some point I decided to give a try to SQLite, and SQLite allowed me to remove 900 lines of Python code from my program. So I'm very happy with it. It's really great.
Yeah. I think Postgres, it looks really good to me. It's
Yes.
nice open source database.
The one of the better
After
ones.
version 8.2, yes.
Yes,
I think it's the last database that's not owned by Oracle.
and
Well, we have to use a big Oracle cluster here. It's
Yeah.
becoming insane.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, there is DB2 also, that's IBM.
no, but the thing is that all the tools around Oracle databases are just of such low quality. It just crashes all the time and it doesn't have any, like all the function. The database itself has good performance and so on, but it's
You need to buy the enterprise version.
yeah.
Well, this
How about
is
the
all what
Source
we
Galaxy people though? Because they tried building it around Oracle and they had a few problems trying to scale, so.
I know,
we scale with 8,000 transactions per second on tables with 900 million rows.
I just remember the Source Galaxy postmortem was that they pretty much had to completely scale back all their object models and everything because they kept being told that the database will support this, it will support this, and in the end, it just didn't support it.
Well, you have to design your database structure in a good way. I mean, if you just do it naively, then
I don't know, like they were working with Oracle, so I don't know any of the details, but an MMORPG does have some real-time component to it that I think databases aren't necessarily familiar with.
another database that I found good to learn, or because the standard tools are quite good, are the Sybase SQL Anywhere database. It's a small database and it's the standard. It's not free, but there's a free developer edition, and it was quite nice to create tables and to actually edit data. The Postgres standard PG admin is a bit clunky, or it's not so easy to use. The Postgres and the Sybase database, it just comes with a nice standard thing, so it's very easy to play with it. And usually do test table, okay, and I can just add my columns here, and
It's good for an editor for your data.
yeah.
files.
And here in the Postgres thing, I have always to click add new column, then I get a dialog, and it's really slow. And here I can type my names of the columns, and just click on, do have a combo box what type it is, and so, it's a lot easier to click something to
That's
that.
actually one thing I like in SQLite, that it uses type information to optimize things, but in principle you can store any type of variable into any field. The type of a column is not hard-coded, it's not checked.
Oh, oh, this sounds
Surprisingly, it works well with the dynamic languages.
But shouldn't it then just like figure it out on the fly and not have to even hint it?
I'm not sure how they do it.
Yeah,
That's probably heavy.
I don't know, that's one of my trouble with databases. I always feel sort of like 1930s-ish of like, oh, I have 30 characters in this column, and I'm like, why do I have to pick 30? It's like I should just have a string. I wanted to move away from that sort of C fixed buffer.
Yeah, there is a text type.
Yeah, now it's warning you this destroys all performance and you shouldn't use the text type.
no. In fact,
It's not as good performance.
no, it depends on the database. Some database, I think the Sybase database internally uses for all those fixed length columns, uses the variable length internally, but it just, or there are databases that internally just use this variable length thing, and
That's good to hear.
What's really weird is that I've been using databases now in and out every day at a very large scale. And I always hear people talking about the performance of the data. Yeah, do it like this, normalize this table, normalize it. And I think, come on, we put 2 million entries in half a second, so what are you worrying about? And it's not really, it's just the standard Oracle default setup. chunk, and people are worrying about.
Yeah, optimization is the root of all evil.
Yeah.
The indexes and there's depends if you, yeah, I have to
On the
do-
other hand, I deal with my SQL databases at work.
Poor guy.
Yeah.
yeah.
And their optimization is crucial.
Well, I find usually because the only time I really deal with SQL is on a web page, and then it's like, it has nothing to do with the time of the query, but the number of queries you do, because every additional query on that page has this whole latency.
But if you have a query that generates subqueries, that generates temporary tables, it's getting nasty. And you run out of memory fast.
And therefore initially I just generated object that fit to one table, and if I had to something complicated, then I needed for every sub table a different select, and this was slow. And so now I can here make a big select with lots of joins. Usually I have selects where I do 10 or 20 joins, and yeah, then do one big select and get all of the data I need in one select, and
That's the way you should do it.
this, yeah. And I have one feature here where I can I have the small table objects. They have also a function that reads from with here I give the table name as a prefix here, and if I take my table object that just fits to the table, it could also read just those fields and initialize from this big query. So I can use the results of this query for several objects. I just have to say here load from name or object name. If I pass here a map cell underscore, then I could do one of these objects could read from this other select I hit here. Ah, okay. Too much technical details.
Okay.
Okay,
Let's go.
Go to eat something.
Thank you very much.